and they go home and they do it.
Good morning, everyone. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time on Friday, the 28th of August, and we're still covering Hurricane Bonnie. Good morning. I'm Bruce Edwards, and indeed, Bonnie is still a hurricane. If you were with us 24 hours ago, at this time yesterday, we were saying, well, Bonnie has been downgraded to a tropical storm. And that indeed was the case for about 12 hours. Then about 11 o'clock last night, the advisory from the Hurricane Center upgraded Bonnie once again to a hurricane, and a hurricane she is. I'd like to introduce Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert, and the latest advisory now is out, and Bonnie is still Bonnie.
Yes, the aircraft reconnaissance has been out there flying around through there. That's, of course, the hurricane hunters or the Air Force Reserve. And current locations 37.1 north and 74.1 west, which is about 100 miles southeast of Wallops Island, which is about 15 miles south of the Virginia border, if you don't know where that is. And the winds are still 75 because they found still some very strong winds above at flight level in the eastern quadrant, well away from the coastline. And so for mariners out there, this is still a potential hurricane, especially if there are thunderstorms in that area.
Okay, we'll talk more about that as we continue, but we still have the watches and the warnings, actually the warnings out, not hurricane warnings though, tropical storm warnings. Now the latest update, what it does is it trims back the southern edge of this from the Virginia-North Carolina border. That is where the tropical storm warnings begin and ride north along the coast, through the tidewater of Virginia, the Jersey Shore, Long Island Sound, all Long Island coastal waters, up through Buzzards Bay, Narragansett Bay, to Cape Cod, and up to Plymouth, Massachusetts. That's where tropical storm warnings are in effect. So now the warnings for North Carolina, they have been dropped. So that is a bit of good news there. We still have flash flood watches posted for southern New Jersey, a good chunk of Delaware, and southeastern portions of Maryland, down towards the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. That is where we'll still get some rather squally weather moving in. Now in North Carolina, again, the news continues to get better and better in that now the warnings have been dropped. But I'll tell you, Bonnie did damage. Surf City, North Carolina, look at the damage to the piers. Several were damaged from the strong winds and waves yesterday. Homes and hotels also suffered damage yesterday with the hurricane. And now the slow, painful process of assessment, cleanup, and repair begins not only in Surf City, but all over eastern parts of North Carolina. And through the overnight hours, and Virginia Beach in Virginia and the Tidewater, that was the area that got hammered pretty good.
That is correct, and I noticed there you saw that break in that pier there. That was where the waves were breaking on top of the pier that did that.
On top of the pier?
On top of the pier. With the surge up there and the high surf, it was breaking right on top, just split the pier right in half.
All righty, let's look at the satellite picture now, or actually the assessment of the damage in Virginia before we get to that. And again, widespread power outages through southeastern Virginia. We found out earlier this morning from the Emergency Management Director, it may be several days, it may not be till Sunday, before all the power is restored throughout the coastal areas and southeastern portions of Virginia. Many of the trees were down, many just uprooted because the ground was saturated and the winds just toppled them, and that of course brought the power lines down, so problems there. There was some coastal and tidal flooding, and some homes, apartment houses damaged by the winds, portions of which were ripped off by the winds, and all of this occurred overnight. And school, part of the roof there fell off. There's a look at the satellite picture, and still again a very impressive looking hurricane.
Yes, it is. You can see the center is roughly right in there, and the area of strongest winds is out away from it on the east side here, and also in this big rain band in here. Watch out, mariners, if you're out there. You shouldn't be out there unless you're a very big ship, and even then you should be very, very careful. There's some very high seas on the order of 20 to 25 feet and very strong gusty winds.
Yeah, we had reports in Norfolk, Virginia. Well, last night as the system roared through, some of the larger ships had their moorings ripped away, and they were in danger of really causing some problems there, but they finally got that under control. We see the wind gusts, not even quite to tropical storm strength on the west side of this hurricane so far this morning.
That is right. You can see that they're not all that strong on the coast, which is good news. And as the hurricane moves up to the northeast, we expect that right quadrant to be the strong quadrant, and that's why only the tropical storm warnings are up along the coastline. So you should see gusts of tropical storm force, especially in rain showers, and maybe some sustained tropical force if you're right at the coastline.
Well, intermittent rain showers strafing the coast now. It looks like around the tidewater of Virginia and coastal sections of Maryland, with the center of the storm still, again, offshore.
Storm center right about here. You can still see it spinning around here, and of course the strong sector is over in here, well offshore. But in these showers, we can have some very strong gusty winds that are sort of transient in time, but the gusts can be damaging.
Well, one area getting slashed with the wind and the rain is Ocean City, Maryland, along the coast. And here's a look at some of the video from it a little earlier this morning as the wind strafed the region and the rain bands came moving through. Generally light to moderate precipitation so far from this system, although winds gusting 30-35 miles per hour, and again at times some higher gusts moving through. But as far as the sustained wind, so far so good. But boy, is that an angry looking ocean or what? It's really showing the breakers out there as they crashed around 8 feet towards the shore. And intermittent showers and gusty winds likely to continue throughout the afternoon. Even though the storm's heading away, they'll still wrap in a few of those showers and storms around the periphery.
And that surf can really be damaging erosion-wise at the beach.
So you've got sort of mixed feelings about this, huh?
Well, in those types of conditions that we just saw there, that's not even surfable. And of course, if you are a surfer, be very careful with those rip currents out there. It's oftentimes much bigger than it normally is, and the rip currents develop very quickly along the sandy bottom.
Where's Bonnie going? That's the big question now, and what kind of an impact will it likely have?
Bonnie will continue on to the northeast. Here's the latest projected path. The National Hurricane Center track takes it generally this way, and here's sort of a swath up and through here. It continued to affect the northeast. The positive thing is if it continues to accelerate to the northeast, this side of the hurricane or storm, if it weakens, will be the weak side. So the strong winds should stay out over the water. But nevertheless, there should be strong and gusty winds there, and people should be very careful and monitor the track of it as it goes along.
Okay, that's Bonnie. We've got a more powerful hurricane down south and west, and that is Hurricane Danielle, who is situated about 330 miles to the north of San Juan with maximum winds of 90 miles an hour. What about Danielle?
It's continued to move to the west-northwest, and that track should continue the next 24 hours or so, followed by a more northwest track up into this general area. It looks like, Florida, you're off the hook on this one, too. I'd pay attention anyway there in South Florida and Central and North Florida. But it looks like the biggest risk right now, although it's a long way out, looks like to be the Carolinas in the northeast. But it's too early to call right now. Just pay attention right now. Don't be too concerned yet, but pay attention.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert on the latest information. We'll have another update for you in about 30 minutes or so, or maybe about 20 minutes, I guess. Thanks for joining us. Now let's check on the rest of the nation's weather. In the studio with all the details, Weather Will Annan.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. Once again, we're going to talk about some fair weather in the western part of the country, but in the middle part of the country already you've seen some active weather from Chicago down towards St. Louis to around the northern parts of Texas as well. Not bothering Dallas, Fort Worth as of yet. But already we've seen the heavier rainfall earlier this morning. That caused some flight delays around Chicago, right around O'Hare International Airport. And you can also see what's on the map lurking off the east coast. Again, we still have Bonnie turning its way on towards the north. Here's a look at our current weather map. There's Bonnie. Again, we can see the frontal system now beginning to work its way eastward throughout the middle part of the country. Ahead of this afternoon, there could be some stronger thunderstorms. Pay attention if you live around Indianapolis, Indiana, South Bend, Springfield, maybe St. Louis as well. And finally, the fog, the dense fog around Minneapolis beginning to lift, as well as much of the fog around central and southern parts of Minnesota. Let's see what's going to happen early this evening. Again, you can see we'll watch the front breaking apart just a little bit. And already on the screen, here comes Danielle beginning to work its way northwestward. Otherwise, by early morning tomorrow, just a tropical storm, but still a strong one. Beginning the weekend is going to be Bonnie as it heads up the northeast coastline and should be affecting places like, well, just south, Boston and southeastern New England by early morning tomorrow. Once again, I'd like to remind everybody that telecommunications for the Weather Channel live shots are provided in part by Bell South. We've got more to go, including traveling conditions. That's next.
This program was sponsored by IAMS, dog and cat food. Good for life.
Is IAMS good for life? Well, research suggests cats can lower your blood pressure and help their owners live longer, healthier lives. In return, help your cat live a long, healthy life. The wholesome ingredients in IAMS are more digestible, so more nutrition stays in your cat, and cats love the taste. IAMS Cat Foods, good for life, from the IAMS Company. Now, for a limited time, look for specially marked IAMS cat and dog food bonus bags at participating IAMS retailers.
Help maintain your cat's urinary tract health with IAMS Original Formula Cat Food.
Pride, overdrive. It's your time to shine.
Storm watches to go around is going to be exclusively once again on the tropics, and a lot of action still going on again. We'll begin by looking at Hurricane Bonnie. The latest stats as of 11 o'clock this morning Eastern Daylight Time, still a hurricane, not downgraded to a strong tropical storm as of yet. It was located at 37.1 degrees north, 74.1 degrees west, or about 100 miles to the southeast of Wallops Island in Virginia. Top sustained winds 75 miles per hour. A minimal hurricane, but it still is a hurricane, and otherwise you could regard it as a very strong tropical storm, that is for sure. It is moving northeast at 9 miles per hour, crawling along the coastline, but it is expected to increase its forward speed. Should weaken later on this afternoon and should be downgraded probably to tropical storm status. And the pressure right now, 992 millibars. Let's see what's going on as far as any advisories and any warnings. We still have tropical storm warnings right now, all the way from the North Carolina-Virginia border up towards Plymouth, Mass. It does include all of the Cape Cod region and much of southeastern New England. You'll be feeling the effects of Bonnie later on this evening, and more likely after dark through early morning tomorrow, when we think Bonnie, as a tropical storm at that point, will be passing just to the southeast of Cape Cod. So you'll be looking at some squally weather as far northwestward as around Boston, Mass. Still looking at an organized storm for the most part, but again, all that deep convection, the reds and the oranges, all those very, very strong thunderstorms beginning to wane just a little bit. Let's take a look at the radar right now. We can show you what's going on. From Norfolk, Virginia, looking off towards your northeast, this is the eye, of course, of Hurricane Bonnie. We can see all the bands of rainfall around it beginning to circulate around it, and even another view now looking towards the north, looking south and southeastward from New York. You can see it again, some of those feeder bands beginning to move their way on towards the north. So again, that is Hurricane Bonnie, probably downgraded to a tropical storm later on today. We'll keep you abreast of that. We've got something else to worry about. That's going to be Hurricane Danielle. 11 o'clock advisory. Center of circulation 23.2 degrees north, 65.2 degrees west. Again, it's top winds 90 miles per hour, west-northwesterly bound 16 miles per hour. That motion is expected to continue. And again, the pressure at 988 millibars. We think Danielle during the next 24 hours is going to strengthen just a little bit, get real close again to the southeastern coastline before it takes a curve towards the northwest and eventually north. Exactly when that is going to happen, anybody's guess at this time, so please stay tuned to the Weather Channel all weekend long. Our thinking now is that a trough, a deepening trough in the eastern part of the country is going to help deflect Danielle off towards the north and eventually northeast, but again, it's really uncertain as of this point. Let's see what's happening with Danielle right now. Not the best organized hurricane as of yet, but once again, we think it's going to strengthen during the next 24-hour period. Quick look at Howard, expected to dissipate during the next, let's say 2 or 3 days for sure. And then something else to worry about, if you're planning a trip to Japan or have any loved ones over there, this is Typhoon Rex, expected to get real close to Tokyo during the next couple of days, making landfall on the east side of Japan by late tomorrow.
This is Mike.
Our meteorologists are on the scene as Bonnie heads up the northeast coast. We'll keep you up to date on Bonnie's track. Stay tuned to Weather Center after your local forecast.
Tex, I love the big fella, but cleaning and smell out of my rugs, not so easy.
Well, now there's a way to get bad smells out of fabrics for good.
It's called Febreze. It's new and it works.
Febreze helps clean fabrics in a way you never could before.
That means getting smells out, not just covering them up.
Just spray Febreze. Its patented cleaning system finds the smells trapped in fabrics and gently cleans them away as it dries.
Once it's dry, the smell's gone for good. It's even safe on my favorite dress.
Febreze cleans bad smells out of fabrics for good.
How do you get rid of ugly stains on ceiling tiles? You simply spray them away. Incredible? It's true with Instagon. Just spray it on and the stain is gone. No scrubbing, no rubbing. This textured ceiling is almost impossible, but Instagon gets rid of the problem in no time. Amazing! Don't scrub bathroom tiles. Even that grungy caulking comes sparkling clean with Instagon. What about stucco? Instagon gets into all those crevices and dissolves the grime away. It removes years of soot from fireplace walls and cleans PVC lawn furniture without any scrubbing. Ugly mildew? Gone in seconds. Instagon works safely, works instantly on all these surfaces, and it's yours for only $19.95. But call now and get 2 for $19.95. Order now.
To order Instagon, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-325-6700 or send check or money order.
A mean surf pounds coastal areas of southeast Virginia as Hurricane Bonnie takes the slow track out to sea, but not before leaving a trail of damage from coastal areas of North Carolina to Virginia. And it is still a hurricane at this hour. We have the latest update from the Hurricane Center. We'll give you more details on that in just a moment. I want to start you off with a look at a satellite picture, and you'll notice it's still a very symmetrical hurricane, impressive looking, but does not spin those clouds very far inland. The question is, are the winds inland, and will we have more rain? All these things we'll be talking about on this update, and joining me now to help me out is Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert. Steve, first off, let's talk about what new information we've gotten from the Hurricane Center.
Right, at 2 p.m., one thing we've seen is it's moving northeast now and at 11 miles per hour, so it continues to accelerate slowly but steadily toward the northeast. They still have winds at 75 miles per hour, so it's still a minimal hurricane, and in general, it's sort of half a hurricane, but keep in mind there could be very strong tropical storm force winds still on the coast the next 6 to 12 hours, but they also expect weakening to occur the next 24 hours.
So starting to make more of the turn, that important turn that we need.
That's right, and continue off and accelerate rapidly.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the stats here. And again, I guess these are this is the old information, so why don't you give us the new center.
Okay, the latest as of 2 p.m., it was 37.3 north longitude and 73.6 west.
Winds are still 75 miles per hour. The new motion is
northeast at 11.
Okay, so picking up a little bit of speed. We do have a live report for you. We take you live now to Atlantic City, and that is where we're joined by WABC TV reporter Bertha Coombs. And you're past the time of high tide now, Bertha. What were conditions like at that point?
At high tide, Jill, it was actually a lot more dramatic than it is now. We still have a lot of surf. If we pan off, you can sort of see a lot of folks coming out to take a look at what is a pretty dramatic show out here today. But the worst was really around high tide. The water was coming up on the beach, getting close to the boardwalk. Things seem to have receded a bit now. About an hour ago, we had an awful lot of rain. It got really, really dark, but now the winds seem to have died down a bit. The rain has stopped, and for the moment, it feels kind of calm. People are waiting to see what's going to happen this afternoon and waiting to see just when Bonnie decides to come here.
All right, so the wind's not too bad there. Do you see a lot of tourists still out and about?
Still a lot of tourists.